Welcome to All Things Chiropractic.
Well, welcome to another episode of All Things Chiropractic. I'm Paul Andrews.
And I'm Dr. Mark Davini.
So this is a different kind of podcast today. Why is it so different, Dr. Davini? Well, I'll tell you why.
Please.
Because you'll never get a word in edgewise. That's why.
He asks and answers his own question. So I'm going to go get something to drink.
Yeah, right. So today's episode is all about tools of practice. We've been getting some listener feedback, and they say, you keep referencing this membership or these tools or these my videos or this or that, and we really don't know what you're talking about. And so the snarky response is, you haven't listened to episode 0. Thanks, appreciate you listening. So there's some background there about us. We won't be redundant on that, but we did want to talk today in this episode about tools of practice so that we would have a way to respond to our listeners and tell them, refer back to this episode so you can understand a little bit more. So let's lead in, Dr. Davini, by saying, what is tools of practice?
Well, tools of practice is, we go by the name tools of practice. Our corporate name is actually Top Education LLC. Top standing for tools of practice.
Hey, look at that.
And you'd be surprised how many people never make that connection. But we operate under the name tools of practice. And if we were to say it in a simple way, like a one-liner kind of thing, we are a concierge compliance and education company.
Ooh, I like that. Sounds very like, white glove, first class.
And that's exactly what it is.
So what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? If we look at, let's just break it down, because there's a lot to unfold with what tools of practice can offer. Chiropractors is our wheelhouse, and their staff. So we want to remind people, or let you know, since I'm not reminding you, I'm really telling you, that tools of practice memberships are for the entire office. And even our members really underutilize that aspect, because the doctor signs up, the doctor communicates, the doctor uses the resources, and he leaves a lot on the table, or she leaves a lot on the table with respect to the amount of resources that all of the office staff can enjoy. And so let's start with our self-service tools. Those are all parked at toolsofpractice.com. Of course, you can always find out more about us. Look at our ugly mugs up there up on the About Us page, or at least his ugly mug. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Hey, what are we doing here?
Okay, let me get that knife out of my back,
Yeah.
But let me just interject one thing, too. When you think about who and what we are, which Paul had mentioned is in our episode 0, that's who we are and what we are individually. But when it comes to this business and what we are really the resource for all things chiropractic. We told everybody why we can be those two.
Isn't that the name of our podcast? Wait.
Jeez. Did I sneak that in
Wow.
there just like that? No. We really are the answer to all things chiropractic. And if we said over and over again, if we don't know it, we at least have the resources to know where to go to find the answer.
So he made such a bold, arrogant statement, but I have to agree with him. I'm forced to agree with him.
He's forced. I'm twisting his arm right now.
Right. So if we look at the self-service tools at toolsofpractice.com, once you log in, we have our toolbox, we call it. And in that toolbox, we broke it down. So one of the more utilized self-service tools that we have for our members and their staff is the My Videos, or their tutorials, really. And they're broken down by category, by subject. So you can get a quick, easy, clean, efficient education response to all things. I'll give you some examples, like the advanced beneficiary notice, right? So Medicare has their ABN, and seems to always just be questions about how do you use the ABN? When do
I don't
you
think
use
a
the
week
ABN?
goes by, Paul, that we don't get a question about ABN.
It's, our e-newsletter, our weekly Wisdom Wednesday newsletter that we send out, almost every other week I'm having something about ABN in there because people just don't understand. So what we do is when we get that kind of feedback and those kinds of questions, we just record a nice, clean, efficient tutorial video on that subject. And the ABN is probably one of the most utilized of the Medicare classification of My Videos that we have.
Yeah, we have many others. We have them on documentation. We have them on Medicare. We have your annual personnel training videos. We have purpose. We have communication. We have a complete course on chiropractic assisting or x-ray, being able to take x-ray both for the doctors and for those states that allow their CAs to take them. So we do have a lot of tutorials that generally answer most questions. And if we get a question that keeps coming up, we make a tutorial to answer.
Right. And just think of it this way, docs, you have staff, and I dare say you have staff turnover here and there.
Just here and there.
Here and there. And so instead of starting from scratch every single time on your own, you just put that new staff person in front of my video on their annual trainings, on their HIPAA training, and they get to absorb at their pace that information so you can still do what you do. Enjoy your life, adjust patients, have lunch.
Have a practice and a life.
Yeah. I mean, so those are the aspects that we get a lot of positive feedback, especially from newer members who have that aha moment and realize, wait, all of this stuff on our website is not just for me, it's for my associates and my staff. Yes, it is. Yeah. So it just, that's really, one of our objectives, right, is to make things easier for you in your practice and give answers to those questions and just help be an extension of your office in a sense.
We also have another section called My References. And for those people, sometimes they don't want to watch the video or whatever. It may not require a video because it's just a shorter type of answer. So we liken this to our question and answer section. Whenever something is an extended answer, we'll write it up in the form of instruction or guide. And that will be in the My Reference section. So, for example, you might have one that gives you the guidelines for billing extra spinal. So instead of saying it over and over and over again, we're able to reference the My Reference section and the toolbox of tools of practice.
And another really convenient one that your staff is probably going to enjoy more than you is My Forms. And what this is our way of providing you some templates for your office to download. And they vary from the simple face sheet, an intake form, to, let's think about verification of benefits. And what do we ask, especially a newer CA who's calling? What questions do I ask to get verification of benefits? What do I need to know? So there's templates on billing, there's template letters, there's template forms.
Consent.
And they're editable, right? So you can download them in Word format. Sorry, Apple users. I'm sure you can probably open them anyway.
I have Word and I have Apple.
Yeah.
It's Mac Word, I believe.
So you can put your own information, your logo, and have fun with it and make it your own. But it's a form that sort of whatever that subject is, you can have a place to start or compare it to what you've been using. Or if you're sick and tired of photocopying that 30-year-old form that you can barely read anymore, and the patients think they can barely read it too, you can start fresh with something new.
So, and it's not just having access to the website. I dare say, Paul, what else do they have access to?
Us. I mean, that's really, most of the point of that support beyond the self-service tools is we have unlimited, dedicated email support. So our members know or should know that they can use this super secret email, and that will come to both of us, and we will answer the question in the order they are received. No, well, that's true, but we'll answer it depending on whose wheelhouse that question is, or if it's both of us, we'll collaborate on an answer. And what's really nice about the email support, beyond the fact that it's unlimited, so you can ask as much as you want whenever you want. We see emails come in all days and all nights, and we have members across almost all 50 states, so time zones are no problem when it comes to email. But what people really appreciate, and so do we, is that the reply that they get is in writing, so that there's no vagueness, there's no what did you mean, there's no that, like when you play telephone as a kid, right? When it goes to 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people, it's not what you said in the first place. You have that resource to look back at or forward on to your staff person, or the staff person can forward on to you, depending on who asked the question.
Right. And we had mentioned, again, if you were to review our video, podcast 0, we go into detail about our qualifications. But like the shorthand of this is, Paul is also a billing company, And I do an extensive amount of malpractice defense for chiropractors, and we both have a tremendous amount of regulatory experience with boards and licensing boards and things like that. So when we say that we have a diverse experience and together we're two halves of that whole that we mentioned before, we're able to at least come up with a halfway decent direction on almost anything. So I'll qualify it a little bit that way. But again, if we don't know the answer, we know where to go to get the answer.
And sometimes we have acted as an intermediary with some of our members. So they ask us, let's say it's a question about scope. And maybe the question about scope is that they're already performing this service. And we say, well, you have to check with your state board. And they say, well, I really kind of don't want to draw any attention to myself. Well, in the past, we have sent in inquiries on behalf of our members without identifying them, just asking, is this within scope? So we can help insulate you, not to commit anything fraudulent, but to help insulate you from drawing attention to yourself where you may feel like you don't want to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll advocate for the profession if it's something huge. Like in our own state, we have filed a complaint against one of the largest carriers in the country because we feel that they're not performing they're not living up to their responsibilities when it comes to chiropractors. So we, again, have that resource and wherewithal where, for the most part, we are a business independent of practice. So we get to complain and say things to say authorities without any fear of retribution because we're not in practice that way. So we have a lot to offer.
You know what's interesting about that complaint, too, which we won't disclose too much of it here, but that complaint was generated in one state to the regulatory authority in that state. And it seemed to blossom not only with other provider specialties having similar issues with a large carrier, but other states too. So we learned from that commissioner that they were going to a national conference and they were talking to other counterparts of theirs in other states, and this is a bigger problem. And we were able to volunteer that as an organization, as Tools of Practice, we are in like 49 states. So if you need resources or examples in other states, we're happy to reach out and help you. And they were very appreciative of that. And the downside is it became such a robust complaint that it's taking forever to resolve. But we know we're going to win because what's interesting is the argument we made with this regulatory body was accepted in as a complaint where others have tried and failed, unfortunately. But we were able to make the argument, I think, in an eloquent but also technical way that most of your, let's just say, your average successful chiropractor wouldn't be able to make these technical arguments. We know it's unfair. We know that it's wrong, but those reasons don't get accepted in as complaints that get a complaint number.
We were able to tap into all of the experiences that I mentioned and then some to do things like that. So, and this is what we bring to the table to our members too, is just this perspective that is unique. From Paul's side to my side, and then not to mention the fact that part of one of the services we offer is that we literally call our members' offices every month. And we go through an external audit where we check them and make sure that they're staying compliant with the guidelines. And in doing so, we also have our finger on the pulse of what's going on, not just in any one state, but in the 49 states that we talk to every month.
Right. And that premium service is utilized by a lot of our members because they really appreciate that check-in and keeping them on track with compliance, which is just a all-encompassing word, but it's big.
We generate their manuals that are state and office specific so that they have not just their compliance manual, but a state and office specific compliance manual, which gets updated as needed because we're talking to them every month. So these are some of the reasons why Tools of Practice is unique and different. There's one other huge aspect that we have, and we call it Synergy CEUs. Paul, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we know that chiropractors across the country are required to get continuing education credits for their renewal cycles so they can renew their license. And so with all of the amount of information and all of the presentations that we have and continue to offer, we decided as a company years ago to get PACE recognized by the Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards. And in that recognition, through their PACE program, we're able to offer continuing education credits for most of our member states. And with that, we have put a significant amount of time and capital into our online CEU platform, synergyceus.com. Now, you can utilize that as a member or as a non-member. The good news, if you're a member, is almost all of our CEU classes are free. That's
Free?
right.
Like
free.
Free.
Free. And again, membership isn't just for you, doctor. It's for your office. So your associates, you can offer them CEUs on demand as part of their compensation package. And guess what? It won't cost you a dime because it'll be tools of practice. Now, there are some affiliate courses that we do have to charge a nominal fee so that we can compensate the expertise that is coming to the table in those presentations. But they're highly discounted. And if you're not a member and you say, well, I like everything you're saying, but I'm not ready, or I don't know you enough, I have to watch or listen to more episodes to really get to know you guys, that's fine. We have CEUs available for non-members, but you're going to have to pay for it. Sorry, non-members, because we want to attract you into what you really should be doing, which is joining us, because why? We can help you in so many different ways, and your office. Sometimes your office manager, your financial CA, they're the ones that insist you become a member because they're the ones utilizing talking and getting all of that robust information and support every single month.
And speaking of CAs, through the Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards, we're offering in their PACE program, we offer a CA course that is approved by PACE. And by passing that course, it qualifies the CA to take the national certification exam and become a nationally certified CA. Now, most states don't require that, but truly, it's the only single true credential that a CA can have, other than the few states that have actual licensure. But it's one of the few credentials they can have that gives them that badge of honor, that not only am I a CA, but I am a nationally certified CA.
And docs, it's a way of transitioning from offering your staff a job versus a career. A lot of CAs, they might use this as a transitory job. It's transitional. They're just, but there's a lot that they're looking for a career. Maybe they don't have all this high education. Maybe they're moms and they don't have time to go back to school, but they're looking for a career. And I won't single out just females, even men. I'm a man. I started as a CA. You can listen to episode 0 for that story. But being able to offer them these credentials, we certify them as CAP credentialed through our PACE recognition. That's the
Chiropractic Assistance Procedures Program.
And passing that by itself is an achievement that they can put up a certificate, but that would qualify them for the FCLB's PACE program, the triple CA, the Certified Chiropractic Clinical Assistant national recognition, and they get a nice badge. They have to renew every 2 years.
Nice certificate.
Yeah, and they get to take, and as part of their ongoing requirements for renewal every 2 years, they have to take 6 continuing education credits to renew their triple CA. But guess what, Doc?
They're free?
We've got those 6 hours for free on our platform for our member offices.
Oh my God! This must cost a fortune to be a member.
It doesn't. You can check it out on our website. We've got two different low cost monthly options for you. If you're going to have your one CA take the CAP program and the membership itself, you've almost paid for it by just becoming a member and taking the CAP course for free for your CA. So, there's a lot there to unpack.
How do I become a member? How do I do that, Paul?
All right, sounding a little too commercialist, but hey, listen, we're here to tell you who we are. So if you go to toolsofpractice.com, you can click on the membership tab and you can find out about the different levels of membership we have. We're going to unroll even a third membership coming soon. And you can find out more details there too about all the things we just talked about and more.
If we didn't answer all your questions in this podcast, there is a Contact Us tab on the website. We look forward to working with many of you who are listening to this now. Thank you for your time.
So thanks again for listening to another episode of All Things Chiropractic / Tools of Practice. I'm Paul Andrews.
And I'm Dr. Mark Davini.
Thanks for listening to All Things Chiropractic. We'd love to hear from you. Visit allthingschiropractic.com with comments, episode ideas, or questions. Or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at All Things Chiropractic Podcast. Be sure to join Dr. Mark Davini and Paul Andrews next time for another episode of All Things Chiropractic.